Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Bianconeri Zone. And the story is Thiago Motta. It is Giuntoli determined to quote unquote sack Allegri at the end of the season and move on with Thiago Motta. That's the news story. That's what we're going to talk about in this video. But before we get into it, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button. Let's get at least to 85 likes. So push the like button and let's go into the breaking news, I guess. Now, so the story is, it's from Santi, if everybody knows that. I'm going to say from the get-go, I don't rate him that highly. I know that he broke some quote-unquote good things earlier on, lately, but the track record I have with him, or like when I first heard of him, it's not that good. I know lately he's become much more reliable, but still, um, not so sure. However, the news story is that Giuntoli is kind of done with Allegri, and that he has seen enough, that he is 100% determined that he's not the right guy for the job, and the job is a young team, a young core with experienced players, but especially developing the young players. And he doesn't deem Allegri, quote unquote, not like the ideal person. Not that he thinks he's a bad coach, but not the ideal person for this kind of job at this moment in time. That's basically the story. And that Thiago Motta is 100% the number one target. Thiago Motta, who is more than open to take on the job at the end of the season. That's basically the news story that's out there. Now, again, I don't want to talk about coach. Like, before I say I want Thiago Motta or I want Antonio Conte, I need to be 100% sure that the club made a decision, and I need to be not even 100%, but I need to have a hint of what the club wants to do, what Giuntoli wants to do. Is it really that, and what type of experience do you want to add? Now, when we watched that Napoli game, all of us, the big takeaway is we lost. I don't think that's a big takeaway. However, even if you don't like stats, just use your eye test. There was a big difference in just playing players who can play. And what I mean who can play, who are just even half decent on the ball. You do not need to rate Alcaraz, Junior, or Miretti. I'm not saying you need to hype those players up. I'm not asking you to do that at all. However, technically, they are better than a lot of players we do play week in, week out. That doesn't mean you're going to win with these players. I'm not claiming that. However, the way we set up with, and it's not really shots, but with McKennie, Kostic, and Rabiot, you lose a lot of just pure quality in possession. Pure players who want to play the ball forward, who have a clear idea of what to do with the ball, and are very determined and are not really hesitating in possession. And when I say this is because when we play these players, it's all collapsing still. And we did lose yesterday. We lost against Napoli, but that wasn't because they're all crap. The finishing was just extremely poor. We had enough chances to win that game. And that doesn't mean, oh man, we dominated that game. We do not dominate games. We're not going to dominate games from now until the end of the season. Even if he plays these players, it's not going to happen because the mindset needs to change. And on top of that, you need to do that consistently. If you go to Atalanta and it's Kostic back into the team and it's Miretti benched and it's, I don't know, McKennie fit, like you're gonna switch it up again. And then the following week, maybe you bring in Miretti again. That's not how it works. You need to have a consistent plan and you need to pursue that. You need to be consistent with it and not that doesn't look good, I'm gonna flip it again. You're on the bench, you like, that's just, you're not gonna build a type of team like that. You're gonna build a team we've had that grinded out results until they couldn't anymore. And yes, the mindset in terms of what Vlahovic said after the Empoli game, everybody kind of died out there. That's an issue, but that's been an issue for 3 years as well. That is maybe part of coaching, and maybe it's part of certain players who are just mentally not good enough. That might be a combination of both. Who knows? However, The technical ability in that team was much higher, which makes a lot of sense because you played technically better players. Now, again, doesn't mean you need to have 11 technical players out there. I'm not claiming that. But when you play with certain players, and we do in midfield, and including the wingbacks, you're gonna look a certain way, and certain players are just gonna struggle. It is what it is. Every time Miretti plays, and he doesn't play with Chiesa or Junior, and he needs to play with Kostic or Rabiot, or he gets moved uh, to the right hand side, he looks awful. And I like Miretti. I like Miretti a lot because the pure football ability, brain, whatever he has. He has things you cannot learn. He needs to learn things. He needs to improve big time. Like, I'm not gonna deny that. However, every time he plays with Kostic, or every time he needs to link up with Kostic and Rabiot, and when he gets moved to the right hand side and whatever, he looks lost. Every time I see him play with Chiesa and Cambiasso and those type of players, he looks good. Why is that? I said months ago, I said, if there's no movement, certain players will look crap. If there's no movement, certain players will look very bad. And when we play with certain players, there cannot be movement because they hold on to the ball way too long. And on top of that, they don't move themselves. And when they move, it's glued to the sidelines, and it's short passes, it's carrying the ball towards their opponent, your own player, your own teammate, and it's just holding up play, and we look extremely poor. Now, Thiago Motta, he has a clear idea of playing, but if Giuntoli says, this is it, I don't want to see this anymore, this is not good enough, we have a core of young players, and we have a core of young players on loan. We do not have a lot of money to spend. Even next season, if you qualify to the Champions League, you're not getting that money this summer. So even going into next summer, we do not have a lot of money to spend. So you're gonna need to do with a lot of these youngsters, some of them coming back on loan. Maybe we need to sell a player. I don't know. We will see in the summer, probably. And maybe you get a quote unquote experienced player. I'm not so sure. But that's the idea. That's what you need to work with. If Giuntoli is sitting there and he's like, I've not seen enough from Allegri to suggest that he can do that he is the guy who can work with Yildiz, Sule, and Miretti, and even Diallo for that extent, or Cambiasso and whatever, and integrate them all in a team, which make them all look good enough and improve on a weekly basis, then he needs to make that decision. And it's a big decision because if you sack Allegri and you need to pay off his staff with taxes, it can get up to 20 million. So you need to find some sort of agreement. Probably Auka needs to come in place, to play the good guy between Allegri and the club, basically. But lately, his agent comments, post-game Allegri saying, hey, you need to ask my agent if you want to know what he means. It's all very strange. This doesn't feel like it's sustainable. This doesn't feel like it's a marriage that needs to be extended for so many reasons. And again, for me, he's a club legend. I don't think he's a poor coach. I'm not saying that because he won so many things. Yes, in the past, but still, I don't think he's a poor coach. I think at this moment in time, he's just not the right man for the job. I think we need something fresh. I think we need to have somebody who's carefree, who is not scared to do something new and stick with it. Because at the end of the day, nobody is expecting us to win with this team. The only thing we're asking is improve and compete on a respectable level that we can build on, and a couple of seasons, I don't know, maybe next season, we are actually winning stuff. That's what we're asking, because nobody claims. I saw a lot of people again in the media saying, oh, he was never going to win with the Scudetto. Nobody was saying he was going to win the Scudetto unless you're just lost your goddamn mind. Only then you were saying you needed to win the title. We know that. However, I don't know what Inter are doing. They're playing while I'm recording. It could be 15 or what so points, and it's March. That's not acceptable. When there's no improvement, the football is dire, and you're 15 points off, that can never be acceptable. I don't care. That can just not be acceptable. And on top of that, compared to the last season when we had all the excuses of all the points deductions and we were like crazy season, We only have 1 point more, and we play once a week. And now there are people trying to convince me that playing once a week is why we're not good enough. But last season, it wasn't. And this season, at the start of the season, Allegri said, we have more time in training to work on things. I'm not sure what they're working on. I'm actually still confused. But just playing technical players, you can see what the difference is. Are these technical players good enough? You can be the judge of it. But I think that's the way forward. Because, again, we look too scared against certain teams. You're better than Napoli. And you should have won that game. But still, large part of that game, they dominate possession. They didn't do anything with it, but they dominated possession. That also needs to change. You need to be able to keep possession. And yes, you need more quality in that team. But come on. Like, we have less possession than far worse teams as well. You know, it's just a mindset. There's also an idea going into the game saying we don't really need the ball. We will step it up when needed, and we will keep that goal and keep a clean sheet or whatever. Try to do that. But that's not working anymore. And actually, it hasn't been working for 3 years. We had good moments and then mental collapses when everything fell apart. And that's happening again. So, Giuntoli, it's a big decision, but that's why you were brought in. It's up to you now to make those decisions and actually improve the team. So, let's see what it will go. But it's getting closer to a period where we will actually get some solid news. But that's it for this one. Like I said, like the video, subscribe, and I will see you guys later. Ciao.